Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Joan here, and today's video is going to be a special one where I share with you my first photo book. So where do I begin with explaining my first photo book? Well, first off, it's right here, and I'm really excited to share with you all the details and little Easter eggs that I put in this book if you haven't seen it yet. And yeah, well, lo and behold, this is my first photo book, which is called Caveman Built My Skateboard. It goes along with my short film documentary that came out a few months ago, and then as well there was a photo exhibition. There was just so many things that came along with this project, but this is the cherry on top. It's the photo book. And where am I going to begin? So originally, many people in the past have asked me when I would create a photo book of my own, and I didn't want to compile all my previous work and just put it into a book. I just felt that it was too easy to do that, and for me, if anyone knows how I am, I prefer taking on a challenge. But the thing was, I never thought I would find the right opportunity or the time to create a book, and there's nothing wrong with using a third-party website to create a book, but I didn't want to go through that route either. I wanted to go through a publishing company, which is what I did with this book. I found a local publisher that was willing to create my book, and the difference was that I was able to use more options and do different things that I really wanted to do for this book, which I'll explain later. Compared to a third-party website, you're probably just limited to whatever it is that they offer. And also, I just want to share that if you're planning to create a photo book, it really does take a lot of time and dedication. Well, for me at least, because for one, if you don't have any graphic design experience or just any experience at all putting a book together, this might be very difficult. For me, I had experience with just creating editorials and creating layouts for magazines before, so I kind of had some sort of insight, and also having experience using Adobe InDesign, which is a program that helped me put this book together. But if you don't know any of that, then you might have some struggle just going through doing this from scratch. So like I said, this is the book. It is 6 inches by 8.75 inches. Originally, I wanted a bigger book, but then I just thought to myself, I wanted something in between also. I didn't want something too big or too small. I wanted something that you could just hold in your hands, that you could just fit into a bag, and so this is the size. And it's also hardcover. Originally, too, I thought I wanted a soft cover book just because it just seems not so serious and not so professional. I feel like when you have the skateboard aspect to it, I just didn't want to make it just so intimidating, and at the same time, something about just the fact that when you have a hardcover book, it just feels more legit. So in the end, I'm actually enjoying the fact that it's hardcover. It just makes it seem just real, whatever that means. And I chose that the font had the same lettering from the documentary, and so I'm really stoked because I wanted it to have this red foil, not just be just flat red. Really wanted to have a red foil, and the fact that they were able to use the font that I used for the documentary and put it all together, it worked out in my favor. And I'll even tell you that just aligning the title on this page, you would think it'd be easy, and it's not. Every sample I got, this title would be like a bit crooked, and I would just get nervous because I felt that the final product wouldn't be straight. And also with the spine, it also has the red foil. And like I said, just these little details really makes a huge difference. And the reason why I chose black and red, if anyone knows me, black is one of my favorite colors. Also red, they fit this aesthetic that I usually put in my projects. You'll always find some sort of red color in my work. And so then again, with this project, I also wanted to do that. I felt that despite me loving white sometimes, I didn't want a book to get dirty. I wanted it to be able to just be put anywhere, not really anywhere, but it could be on your coffee table or your bookshelf, but just in case, I just didn't want to get damaged at all if possible. So that is the cover. And then when you open the book, it has black end covers here just to go with the cover. And then the next page is the title page, which has a title. And I was fortunate enough to ask Iggy to sign all of the books, and you also have my signature on here just because some people like that. And the next page is the foreword. The foreword is an important page for me in this book. I've always been thinking about who would write the foreword in any of my photo books, and the person who wrote it is my high school art teacher. He is someone that I really look up to and someone who mentored me and just was a big part of my career. And so I asked him to write the foreword, and I'm not gonna say what he wrote. You just have to have the book in order to know. And then when you go to the next page, it has the dedication. So Elmer D. Vergara is my dad, if anyone does not know that. If you got the book and you're just like, who is that? That is my dad. When my dad passed away, I always dedicated my shows or any projects of mine to my dad. Just because he's not here anymore, I feel that I owe it to him to just always put his name on my stuff. And then as you go along with the book, you'll start seeing the images that we shot for the project. And so this first image was actually Instax's photo of Iggy that I shot, but then I scanned it in the scanner, and then by accident, I guess I messed it up, or I opened the flatbed too early, and then it made this wonky looking image, and I thought it was cool. So that's the first image. And then there's me that I think Iggy took of me taking a photo of him with the Contax TVS and holding my skateboard. And then these next images are photos that are shot with the Canon EOS 1V that are all multi-exposures, because with that camera you can actually take, I believe, 9 multi-exposures, which is crazy. So these were the first photos that I ever took of Iggy, just even before when we didn't even work on the project. Then the next pages are my crowdfunding speech, when I made the Kickstarter, and my deadlines and just my thoughts of how I wanted to just put this whole project together. And you could tell like I was like pretty organized. And then I even have the Instax wide photos and the dates and my notes of like when I first talked to Iggy, who is the subject of the project if you don't know, and just pretty much just remembering of whatever it was that we did. And then these are contact sheets that I actually printed in the darkroom. They're not manipulated or put together on Photoshop. These are actual contact sheets. And so yeah, you're seeing that throughout the book. These are black and white contact sheets. Shout outs to Ilford. Yeah, most of the images that I shot in this book are either with a Minolta camera or a Contax TVS, or with my favorite Yashica Mat 124G for medium format. And we photographed at 2 different skate parks, so we would just alternate whenever we just felt like wanting to just photograph from one or the other or document. And so the first half of the book is all black and white. I didn't want to intertwine and have black and white and color. I just wanted it just straight up black and white at first, and then color, just for my own sanity. That just works for me. And so you'll just see photos that we took and the cameras that I use. You could be probably surprised with seeing how many cameras I brought to the set. It would just be like 5 cameras plus a Bolex. Like, it's insane. I don't even know how I did it. This is Iggy attempting or actually landing the caveman. I can't even tell. There's just so much content that we made that I don't even know sometimes. I know more when it comes to seeing the video footage. And just skimming through here, it's just still a lot of black and white 35mm. Most of it, I believe, is Ilford XP2 or HP5, looking through the contact sheets here. And then, like I said, there's color contact sheets, and keep it going. I also shot some panoramic photos, which are shot with the Context TVS because it had that feature. So that was a bit of a challenge to actually print in the dark room the panoramic photos, because in the enlarger it didn't have the frame exactly. I had to make it myself manually. It's a whole situation. And there's also Instax wide photos. There's some round Polaroids, because that's when it just came out again from Polaroid. These frames and more contact sheets. And this is like the first day when we worked together. This was like, we had no idea what exactly was gonna happen for this project. We're just seeing how it goes. And this page here is what I'm talking about with the panoramic shots. This is literally, I did it by hand, printing it. And so to have these two images on top of each other like that was a bit of a challenge. So when it came to the dark room, I think if I had to choose what were my favorite images to print, it might be those. And also another, I want to say, fan favorite is this one of Iggy just standing or doing a handstand on the skateboard. I don't know how he does it, but that's like a special skill. And these are the last images that I added last minute. This was an aerial bird's eye view of the skate park at my friend's apartment. Shout outs to Drew. And this is a screenshot of one of my many messages with Iggy. And Iggy always liked to put together these Photoshop pictures, I don't know, and I just always was just like surprised and intrigued by his creativity and just whatever inspired and sparked his mind to put something together, but it always put a smile on my face. And then there's more Instax wide photos, and this is another photo that's one of my favorites, because this is on the first day, and I remember Iggy just being like, Joan, like, you gotta capture this. Like, he just would always do something, and I would just be like, okay, let's do it. Let's just capture it. The next picture, this is also another favorite of mine. I have a print of this in large format. This is Iggy that just literally is holding a hand sanitizer bottle, because it documents literally the time of when we did this whole project. Was during COVID, and so I thought that was very important. Without like having him wear a mask, this really also displays exactly the time period of when we did this whole thing. And the mural behind him doesn't even exist anymore. So the next image is, if anyone is wondering if they see this throughout the book, this is actually my leg. His skateboard literally hit my shin, I kid you not, and I was in so much pain. I was limping, but I still was like, we have to still keep going and keep filming. And so luckily my friend Walter was there to buy band-aids at the bodega, because it was bleeding a lot, and Iggy felt so bad for the rest of the day, but I was just like, we just gotta keep going, gotta keep just doing the project. And this next image here is the two Polaroids that I took of Iggy when he saw the sample of the book, and I just captured it. I'm like this person who just always documents each and every time event that we have. And so with Iggy, what we would do after each session would be that I would have him borrow a few photo books, especially if they have skateboarding pictures or anything related to that, and I would get his input on his thoughts on what he liked and what he disliked. And most of the time he gravitated to photo books that had more fun, creativity, not these like serious just photo in each page. So that's why this photo book has just not only photos, you'll see other things throughout the book, which I'll share in a second. So the next page, it's Iggy with my Yashica Mat 124G. This camera, he's always like wanting to see through the viewfinder just because it looks cool with the parallax. And so next page, it's with my Bolex. This is what I use to capture 16mm film. And this is when you look through the Yashica Mat. That is the viewfinder. So that's Iggy through the viewfinder. And going to the next page. So this is what I'm talking about. So this whole page is a portrait of Iggy, and then it has his name all over. And that was just something I incorporated when I got inspired with seeing what he likes and seeing that he liked all this like artwork on it. So I just thought it would be cool to just add his name all over it, so it's just not a photo of him as all the other pages. And then the next page, I also have a big print of this. It's a collage, 9 images of just action shots. This is the beginning of the documentary. And so this is like one of my favorite parts of the documentary, which is just the intro alone. So this is a cool collage. And then the next page, it's a drawing or scribble, whatever, doodle that I did of Iggy doing the caveman trick. If anyone doesn't know, that was what Iggy was trying to attempt to do throughout the whole documentary. It was not guaranteed, was for him to do this caveman trick. So when we first met, he was already trying to do this caveman trick. I had no idea what that was, and then I just always thought he was gonna hurt himself, and I was worried every time. And then when we decided to work together on this whole project, we just pretty much made it a mission to see if he was going to actually do it. And then when the fact that I actually captured it on film, him doing the caveman, and then he just ended up doing it over and over and over, which was like insane. It was just such a heartwarming feeling for both sides, you know, just because he finally got to do what he has always been working on, and for me to be able to capture it and share it with him, it was just really nice. So this other page here is like him holding his skateboard when he first landed that caveman trick. He was like super happy, and you could just see that throughout his whole expression. And then the next page here are all these Instax wide and mini Instax photos of me and the band that did the whole music, because Old Speed is the band. They did the music for the documentary. I feel that the music is very important aspect, just as watching the visuals or hearing Iggy's voiceover. So I'm very thankful for the guys to let me record them and, you know, put their music into the film. And also thank you to Walter for introducing me to them. And then these are the credits that are at the end of the documentary. So I wanted to also include that, because without all of these people, this documentary wouldn't happen. So very, very thankful. So lastly in the book, it's the most cheesy but thoughtful maybe part is these 2 Instax photos of me and Iggy, and I wrote a handwritten letter to him. I'm also not gonna share it, because if you have the book, you'll know what I wrote. But I really wanted to add this part where I could just write and say some sweet message that maybe years later Iggy could look back on and just be like, hey, like we did this whole thing, and like this was her thoughts, the director of this whole project. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. And then it just ends with black. And like I said, creating this photo book was a whole process, a whole journey, and it's not something that just happened overnight. Definitely put a lot of thought into it, just, you know, putting literally piece by piece, taking out a page, putting back a page, trying to figure out what works, what didn't work. And so I'm just glad, like I said, that now I can share it to the world, that now that this exists. So if you have a copy, please maybe leave a comment down below, share your thoughts. I honestly don't know that many people yet because I shipped it out recently, so I don't know what people's thoughts are if they have the book and what they felt when they were going through it. But I'm just very happy that I'm able to just make something like this and collaborate with someone who is one of the sweetest and nicest and friendliest people in the world that I've ever met, and I wouldn't want it any other way, and he knows that. The project wouldn't be the same if I had someone else be the subject of my project. I'm not just bullshitting, I'm like being honest here. I didn't want to do the project if it was with someone else. I would probably just trash the whole idea and do something else. So I'm just glad that in the end I got to do what I wanted to do and put this all together. So I hope maybe this gave you some inspiration to wanting to create your own photo book, and maybe it'll help you along the way to, like I said, making one and putting it together. And I just want to say thank you again for watching, and if you've been a part of the journey of the Caveman Built My Skateboard, big thank you, and just stay tuned till the next video, and sayonara. It's the end of the video, so don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, it will help me in the long run. Okay, bye.